Well, well. Interesting. This is interesting. Elon Musk snaps up $3 billion in Twitter stake, which makes him one of the largest shareholders in Twitter. Elon Musk has taken a 9.2% stake in Twitter, according to a US securities filing. The news sent Twitter shares soaring about 25% in pre market trading. The Tesla founder bought 73,486,938 Twitter shares on the 14th of March, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission. The stake is worth $2.89 billion based on Twitter's closing price on Friday. The stake makes him one of the largest shareholders in the company, and it is four times the 2.25% holdings of Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, who I might chat about him at the end of this actually. He made a bit of an interesting tweet recently. Musk is a regular Twitter user with more than 80 million followers, although recently he said he is giving serious thought to building a new social media platform. That's something we'll chat about in a wee minute as well. Late last month, Musk asked his followers whether they thought the social media platform encouraged free speech. Twitter does not in any way encourage freedom of speech. Free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? He then asked, is a new platform needed? Given that Twitter serves as the de facto public town square, failing to adhere to free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy. What should be done? There is a moral argument to be made for that there, and especially I know when it comes to the private companies can do what they want type of arguments. However, there is another moral argument that can be made there. The BBC is not responsible for the content of external sites. View the original tweet on Twitter. He regularly uses Twitter to share updates from the companies he owns, including SpaceX and Neuralink. He is also known for sharing memes, adding to his popularity among fans. But some posts have drawn controversy because, of course, they wouldn't be able to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter without. I already know before going into this, there's going to be there's going to be a mention about that guy from Thailand. Last year, he tweeted in response to a claim made by the head of the UN World Food Programme that just 2% of Mr. Musk's wealth could help solve world hunger. In October, Mr. Musk said he would sell $6 billion in Tesla stock and donate it to the WFP, provided it could describe exactly how $6 billion would solve world hunger. Something that they should have taken him up on. I mean, if that would have actually solved the problem. Mr. Musk saw the valuation of his Tesla car company surpass a market value of $1 trillion last autumn, making it the fifth such firm to reach the milestone after Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google owner Alphabet. You know, he became part of this now the big five. It's now the big five. Soon after he took to Twitter to ask users if he should sell a 10% stake in the electric car maker, more than 3.5 million Twitter users voted, with nearly 58% voting in favour of the share sale, leading to Musk selling around 5 billion of shares in the firm in November. And here we are at the end of the article. And one thing as well was someone actually posted the math of, Elon Musk should pay like X amount in tax. When Elon Musk posted his tax bill, I think he was one of the biggest taxpayers, like as far as his bill went in the US at the time. And one guy actually crunched the numbers, and he discovered that the amount of tax, given the amount of the running costs of America, Elon Musk's amount of tax that he paid was enough to keep all of America running for 8 hours. 8 hours. So after 8 hours, boop, that's it. Elon Musk's billions in tax that he paid would only keep America running for 8 hours. Kind of seems like the state is very, very inefficient in using the money that it steals. But anyway, as far as the plan of creating a new media platform, it's been tried and it's not going to work. And there's a bunch of different reasons why it's not going to work. One of them is just a natural reason. The other ones are sinister reasons. For example, we've seen places like Gab, Parler, and all of the others. And what usually happens to places like that is payment processors then refuse to work with them. Certain places refuse to host their web servers, etc., etc. So what happens is you've got all of these other players in the market that are coming together to get rid of a competitor, because one thing that we know about the current corporate class is they, for some reason, are really not a fan of right wing or conservatism or anything like that at all. So if there is anybody, doing anything along those lines, which most new social media platforms are trying to do now to give conservatives or right wingers a place to speak where they won't be censored, everyone goes, "Oh, wait a minute, we don't like that," and so they're getting places like Parler's back, but it's dead. It's dead pretty much. Gab is still around, however. Torba, he did go a little bit funny, didn't he? He went a little bit strange. But so as far as making a viable market competitor, as soon as you do that, the first people that are going to be on your platform is right wingers. Some of them are going to say some pretty fucking spicy shit, and even if they make up like 0.1% of the population on your website, the tweets or posts that they make will be the ones used to show to everyone, oh, this is what this website's like. This place is fully racist and crazy people and etc. and blah blah blah. And that's it. Your new platform's it's dead in the water. That's it. It's gone. And that was the plan. That was the intention the entire time. They don't want viable market competitors. So, and even if someone like Elon Musk did it, like even with Trump's new platform or whenever any new platform like shows its head, like shit tons of right wingers will go and make an account and they'll go, oh, we got like 6 million, new users in one day, hey. And then what happens is all the accounts become inactive because nobody uses it. And then we get into the natural reason of the reason that nobody uses it is because Twitter, unfortunately, is the place. This is the most popular nightclub in town. This is the town has very, very many town squares, but this one is the popular one where everyone is, where your voice can be heard, as far and wide as is possible currently. Twitter offers the best place for that. Right now, unless there was truly like a genuine mass exodus to another platform, then Twitter will remain that way. Twitter is going to stay like that. So one of the things that I feel would be better for solving the online free speech issue is to get Twitter to actually give a fuck about freedom of speech. However, as we know, it does not, and it does not have any intention whatsoever in doing so. However, buying a massive stake in Twitter, basically, when the town square where everyone is gathered refuses to respect everyone's right to freedom of speech, you could just buy the town square. And you now own the name. You now own the gravitas of the name behind the club. Everybody knows Twitter. Everybody knows that Twitter is like the place. You now own it, and then you, as part owner, can now change the rules, which I feel is a much better solution than building a competitor. So the technique, the method that Musk is actually going for, I feel is the much better one, right? I know, yeah, market competition and all that type of stuff is good. However, it's very, very difficult to do when you have other people in the market all conspiring against you. And current regulations and stuff like that allow them to actually do that, and don't allow for other viable market competitors to like show their head. Like, see, for example, if you get deplatformed by Visa or MasterCard, you're dead. Your business is gone. Like, that's it. These guys, they aren't the only two, right? There are other payment processors. However, like 99% of all other businesses and banks don't use those processors. They use Visa, they use MasterCard, right? So if you get deplatformed by either of them, you're fucked. You are royally screwed. Just fucking, close the door, hang the sign outside. You're as well shutting up shop there, right? If they fuck you, then that's it. Your business is doomed. But I do believe that this technique that Musk is using is the best way to go about it. If the big main platforms that everybody uses, the de facto town squares, are not respecting people's rights to freedom of speech, and see if these town squares are meant to be a place where people's ideas can be exchanged and things can be discussed, and it's where everyone comes and chooses to do it, and you're not allowing them to do it to skew in a certain political way, well, kind of affects that precious democracy, doesn't it? So, for example, everyone says, oh, democracy or freedom and democracy, because people still think that freedom and democracy are hand in hand when they're not. But if it comes to, as everybody says, democracy being fair, right? Well, if democracy is to be fair, then people have to have as much access as possible to opposing views that are involved in the democratic process. If you're basically saying, oh, all the left wingers, you can post whatever the fuck they want, because whenever left wingers get banned, it's usually an algorithmic error and they get their accounts restored within 2 weeks. If it's a right winger get banned, it's not an algorithm, it's a human fucking doing it, right? And they never get their accounts back. So if you're saying, oh, you're only allowed to listen to one side of the argument, in this, the town square, like the online society has decided this is the town square. And as some people like to say to me a lot, such power has to be used responsibly. With great power comes great responsibility. So if the online community have decided that Your website is the de facto town square. It's where everybody comes to discuss and exchange ideas. Then you kind of have a moral obligation, if you care about democracy, to let everyone involved in the conversation hear both sides of the argument from whatever parties are involved in the democratic process. If you are not allowing one side to speak and you're banning them and getting rid of them, then you are kind of using underhanded methods to skew democracy in your favour, which is anti-democratic because that's the opposite of what democracy is supposed to be. So and I'd like to say this to other people as well out there when they go, oh, free speech is nice, but, and then they include a bunch of reasons why, oh, but this type of speech should be gotten rid of. Well, one thing to call them out on is go, well, you're undemocratic then. The point of democracy is to make an informed vote towards what you're voting for. Right, so basically, you could even make the argument everyone that voted for Brexit was uninformed. Well, you could turn around and say that anyone that voted for a left-wing party was uninformed because they didn't really get to hear any of the arguments from the other side. Works both ways, doesn't it? However, the technique that Musk is using, yes, I agree with this, and it's definitely going to be interesting. But he's definitely ensured that he's never going to get banned for the platform.